After getting blown out by a final showdown in a recent Commander game, I've begun the process of adding these spree cards to my Commander cube. And one thing that I noticed about these cards is they are all competitively costed, they're very flexible, and many of them fit into the themes of my cube. And I won't go into the cube details in this video, but I just wanted to mention that the spree cards are new staples, in my opinion. Pleasant Kenobi recently made a video describing how Final Showdown is insane and that he compared it to Cyclonic Rift. I don't think it's quite Cyclonic Rift because it does not hit non-creature permanents, but it is very good. And the fact that you have to be worried about a white player holding up 7-8 mana is a new thing starting now. So the Command Zone also did an episode on the best 99 cards in Thunder Junction, and they thought Final Showdown was up there. Oddly enough, they did not think Insatiable Avarice was as good as I think it is. I think Nitpicking Nerds also mentioned that they liked Insatiable Avarice. This card, to me, is 3 mana, draw 3, lose 3. It's just another Painful Truths, which I should have had that pulled up. But Painful Truths is played in quite a few decks here, so let's just look at the EDH rec. This card here, 3% of decks, and it's really a 3+ color card. So Insatiable Avarice, I feel, should be in a huge percentage of black decks, especially mono black, 6% currently. This is a very strong card. The first ability, the first mode, is actually the weaker mode. The second mode is where you want to be most of the time. 3 steps ahead, I think, is an excellent card. This creates token copies of artifacts or creatures, counters a spell, and then it does like a looting, chart a course type ability, which, like, all 3 of those modes are valuable. You will always have one of those modes that you want to do. The Smuggler's Surprise is also an extremely strong card. This can flash into creatures. It can protect your creatures with a pseudo-heroic intervention. It can mill cards. Great Train Heist is another relentless assault with more abilities. Return the Favor is a almost strictly better Wild Ricochet. Every single one of these spree cards, I think almost every single one, is EDH playable. Even Explosive Derailment, like this card is a Braid, but you can target 2 targets, essentially. So if you feel that you're going to get to 5 mana, put this in over a Braid. I think it's not exactly the same, but it costs more mana. But the idea of hitting 2 things with this is phenomenal. And the flexibility is just, it's hard to describe how good that is. Now, if you're in CEDH and you are under the gun right away, then that's a different story. But I love the idea of modal cards being more commonly implemented into new Magic design. Cards like Riku of Many Paths are an excellent addition to Commanders. This is the first Commander that's mentioned the word modal. This obviously works well with all the spree cards, worked with Kicker, Escalate, which spree is just a much improved version of Escalate. Escalate had a design limitation in that the Escalate cost was the same cost every time, whereas spree, you can see it on Final Showdown, it's 1, 1, and then 5. Insatiable Avarice, 2, and then 2 black. Smuggler's Surprise, 5 mana, 2 mana, 1 mana. The fact that you can have different costs for the spree is a much better design space than Escalate. And I think Wizards is going to make spree like one of the new kickers. Now, the difference is with kicker, you can add it to creatures. I don't know that spree works as well on creatures yet. They have not added it to a creature yet. I wonder if that is possible within the rules. I know there's the little plus sign in the corner, and with a spree card, when you cast it, you have to pay one of the costs. You can't just cast it for just the top corner. You have to actually pay one of the costs. This works very well with a card like Sunforger. You can tutor for a Final Showdown with Sunforger. You save the 1 mana in the corner, and then you can choose any number of the spree costs to cast. So this is such an interesting design space. I just love it so much. The kicker comparison always gets made with these new mechanics like spree. Kicker is one of the classic Magic mechanics. I think it started in the Invasion block with like early 2000s. And so the fact that Wizards is iterating on it with Escalate and spree especially is an excellent choice, I think. I love this design space. Spree is my favorite mechanic since Ward. I think that if they can cost it appropriately, which with Ward, everyone's talking about it. Gavin just made a new video about is Ward a problem? I almost wonder if he watched my video on it. I don't think he did, but it's just so cool that Wizards is making these flexible design space abilities. So, Ward. So this, here we go. Just get near the end of the video here, and Ward is just, it's so interesting. The fact that the Ward 2, I think they're learning is a pretty high cost. So the Ward with like pay 3 life on Sedgemoor Witch. This is a flexibility that I enjoy. I think this is good. Ward 1 is another thing you can do. 2 is just probably not the right number. But Spree has already pre-solved that problem by having different costs in the abilities. So I'm a huge fan of that. I think everybody should test out Spree cards in your decks. I think these are going to be hits. These are going to be big.